I'm Monica Saralampi. I'm from the Center for Experiential Education here at Normandale. And our office does service learning mainly. We have over 80 classes doing service learning this semester. And we also have programs in internships and co-op ed. We do volunteering, and we have a really awesome program called Leadership Through Service where students do 300 hours of service over the course of 1 year, and then they get a stipend to help pay for school. So those of you who really have that service bug and are excited about doing some volunteer work, that's a great way for you to continue to get involved. So service learning, why are we making this an option for you? Why do we love this here at Normandale? Well, this is a great opportunity for you to make some connections with some hands-on learning experiences in the community. So you have a chance to make an impact in the community, help organizations that are trying to help other people, and also learn a little bit more about what you're doing in more of a hands-on way. Those of you who are thinking about careers in psychology or want to work with people in the future, this is a great way to get some of that work experience that you're going to need to get into the field. These are opportunities that might help you break into a possible career path or test it out. Here at Normandale, we want you to be successful. We want you to have those opportunities. So everything that you do here, we want to help you with your career path. When you do volunteer work, you should always put it on your resume. It makes you look really good. And employers like to see that you were willing to give back to the community. Also, the folks at these agencies can serve as your professional reference. They can be that person that your possible employer calls and says, hey, should we hire so-and-so? And they say, yeah, that person volunteered for us and they were awesome and we love them and you definitely should hire them. So this is a great opportunity beyond what you're learning in this class. We think this is something that will help you with your future as students. Also, when you're transferring or applying to scholarships, doing service learning helps you get those scholarships. And when you're applying and there's other students with the associates or transfer curriculum, and you have done service learning and they haven't, you're going to look a lot better than the next person. So consider that, and consider getting involved in other things on campus, because those things will help you get into other schools and get those scholarships and look better than everybody else. And that's what we're all about here, right? Looking better than everybody else. Okay, so who here thinks that after they're done with college, they're going to get a job that pays them money? Okay, those that are not raising their hand must have magic powers, and I want to know what they are. But, right, that's why we're all here. We want to get a job that pays a living wage so we can be happy and satisfied and all of that, right? So this should help you. All right, so I'm just going to talk about some of the agencies that you have the opportunity to work with through this class. You have the opportunity to do, says 20 to 25 hours of service at these agencies. We did have partners that were planning on coming, but unfortunately they didn't make it today. I don't know, Bridget said there was some traffic, so I wonder if someone gave up. But so I'll walk through these partners in your packet. We also have a couple of these partners, we videotaped them talking about their opportunities, and you have those on your D2L. So you should be able to look at those as well. All right, so the first one in our packet is Open Circle. And this is an agency that is an adult day program. So this program works with older adults. So in terms of the developmental lifespan, these are folks that have gone through their childhood, workforce, and now they're kind of hitting near the end of their life. They are not living in nursing homes. They're often living with their families. They have people taking care of them on a regular basis. But these caretakers often have to work during the day. They need to run errands, do things for themselves. Sometimes they just need a break from caretaking. So the folks who use this service are either dealing with geriatric issues, so just things that come with old age, Alzheimer's and dementia, which are both memory loss issues. And they specialize especially in working with memory loss. A day program provides people with opportunities during the day, as it says in the name, to do things that engage them. So the things that people like to do, they have a choir, they do reading clubs, they talk about travel, they have a really good time doing a lot of things. They even play bingo, which I know everybody thinks bingo is cool. As much as people aren't starting a bingo club at Normandale, it is always fun. If you have an interest in music or art, if you want to share something with somebody, this is a really great opportunity to do so. And a lot of times the volunteers just hang out with folks, get to know them. In terms of communication, communicating with somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia is very interesting because they forget quickly what the conversation you just had was. So it can be kind of this interesting pattern of repetition. But a lot of these folks can tell you about their life when, 20 years ago. So they remember a lot of things from further away, but what happened 5 minutes ago, not necessarily. Those of you interested in possibly working in healthcare, social services, working in psychology for folks or psychiatry for folks with memory loss, this is a really great opportunity for you because it can really help you get in the door. They have social workers and nurses who work there that you can connect with. It's a small agency, so you can connect with all of the service providers that work there. So on top of them having fun during the day, they also provide these folks with services, so it's kind of a one-stop shop for them. So they do expect a 20-hour commitment. They are only open during the day, so you'll see Monday through Saturday between 9 and 4. I do believe their Saturday shifts fill up pretty quickly, so you will have to contact them early if you're thinking Saturdays are the only day that works for you. And you'll just contact Mark Rosen at his email or phone. He is really good with email though, so I'll tell you that that's probably the best. Does anybody have questions on Open Circle? Okay. Okay, so the next opportunity is America Reads and Counts, and it sounds like a couple of you have already thought about America Reads and Counts and are interested. So this is a tutoring program for elementary age students in the Bloomington public school system. We run this program out of our office, so we have Normandale students that we help place in the Bloomington public schools. So this is for reading, it's kindergarten through 3rd grades, and for math, it's 1st through 8th grades. And if you have an interest specifically in just reading or just math, we can definitely work with you on that. We do expect tutors to commit to at least 2 hours a week, the same day and time a week, so those with variable schedules this won't work for. And if you qualify for work study, that is a possibility too, that you can get paid work study for tutoring. Bridget, I haven't asked you if you are willing to have them do it while they're getting service learning credit, but then once you get your hours, you can get paid after that. It's fine. Okay, so the only volunteer opportunity you could get paid for. So let's see. So 2 hours a week, generally the times of day would be during the school day for the kids, so Monday through Friday from about 8 in the morning till about 2:30 in the afternoon. And that would be working one-on-one with kids or in small groups, helping them with their reading and math skills. We do provide you with training, so those of you who are freaking out and saying, well, I wouldn't even know how to start, we make sure that you have the skills that you need. Also, then we have an after-school program, which is called the Homework Connection, and that's generally from about 3 to 5, and that's Monday through Thursday at different locations. Those of you who bus, we have schools that are easily on the bus line, very easy to get to via bus. So those of you who don't have your own transportation, this might be a great opportunity. A lot of students do this between classes, and it works out very nicely, those of you who are here during the day and have some chunks of time between classes. There is a background check because you're working with vulnerable populations and you may be alone with kids, so that is part of that process. So the application is due February 4th. So those of you who are interested, please get your application in before that. We'll schedule you for an interview, which is not to say that you could be in or out, but we want to know what your interests are, what your schedule looks like, so then we place you in the appropriate classroom in a place that you're interested in. Those of you who are interested in working in education, I really recommend this. A lot of four-year programs for education require you to do some volunteering in the classroom before you can be admitted into their program or before you can graduate. And a lot of folks, this is the chance for them to test out whether education is right for them. We have had tutors who go through the America Reads and Counts tutoring program and they say, yeah, I love this. I love working with kids. This is great. And then we've had people say, wow, I thought I wanted to be a teacher, but I'm really glad I tutored because I realized I didn't. I want to work in education, but maybe this isn't the right route, which is great, right? Because they didn't waste all the money on the four-year education. They got it done here and figured it out and move forward. So this is a really great opportunity for those of you interested in education or working with kids. Any questions on America Reads and Counts? Okay, great. So GNU Golden Eagles is the next opportunity on here. We do have on your D2L videos a video of the person from the organization sharing about it. This is a program for after school for kids at the Minneapolis American Indian Center, which is part of a reservation in Minneapolis. And the kids in this program, Bridget looked confused. The kids in this program are elementary through high school aged. Each night they work with a different age group. The program goes from about 5 p.m. They pick up the kids in a van, bring them. They have dinner together, so volunteers eat alongside the kids. Free meal. Everybody loves free food, right? Especially when you're in college. So you can eat with the kids, get to know them. They do some gym time. These kids love playing dodgeball especially, but those of you not into dodgeball, do not fear. They're trying to get them to kind of branch out a little bit, and there's always kids who don't want to play, so it's great when there are volunteers who are hanging out with them so they can engage them in different ways. And then they do some homework help time, so that's especially where college students come in because you can help them with their homework, figure out what it is that they're struggling with. And then they have this really amazing curriculum that they've created for the kids that are specifically focusing on issues that connect with Native American youth. So it's a resiliency program, and their goal is to help these kids make positive decisions about drug and alcohol use, about healthy eating, and they learn a lot about culture, their own cultural practices, cultural arts activities, so they have that deeper connection within their community. So it's a really great program. We've partnered with them for over 13 years, and it's been wonderful, and we have a lot of Normandale students who volunteer there. It is off the light rail, so those of you relying on public transportation, it's pretty easy to get to. It's near Franklin and Cedar. And you would pick one night a week that works for you. Cool thing about GNU is they're pretty flexible, so if you have a variable schedule and you can generally commit to one night, but you might need to switch it up every once in a while, they're really open to that. But the great thing about picking one night is you get to know the same group of kids every time, so that's really cool. So they ask for the full semester commitment, which will work for your 20 to 25 hours. Any questions on GNU Golden Eagles? Okay, so either you're asleep or you're totally with me, so I'm going to assume you're with me. Okay, so Simpson Housing Services is the next one, and this one is working with the adult homeless population. So Simpson Housing provides a lot of different services to homeless folks, families, single folks, and they try to provide them with services that really supports them in what they need so they can obtain stable housing and jobs and then actually sustain that. A lot of folks who have been homeless, it's a cycle for them. And so maintaining housing once you get it is one of the hardest steps for people. So they do a really good job supporting folks even after they get housing to try to keep them in their housing situation. So the shelter opportunity for you all is working in the men's shelter, which is in Minneapolis off of Nicollet and 28th. I volunteer there, so women, those of you who are like men's shelter, no way. I volunteer there just to see what it was like because I really wanted to make sure people were feeling safe, and it is a wonderful environment. The men at this shelter, it houses 44 men, and then there's a women's side in the same building that houses 22 women. So there are 66 people sleeping in the shelter each night. They have staff members who are there when the volunteers are there. So these folks get their beds through a lottery system for 28 days. So they have to rely on luck entirely to get a bed for 28 days, which is really stressful for them and very challenging and can feel unfair if they don't end up with a bed. But they also feel very fortunate to have that space then for 28 days. And Simpson works with them to save money, and if they're working really hard to save money to put the down payment on a place to stay, they actually can stay beyond that 28 days because they want to support them in this whole process. At night, when the shelter's open, volunteers will come in at about 5:45. The shelter staff are there. They are responsible for opening the doors, welcoming the men in, making sure that the people who are coming in are the people who are supposed to be staying there that night. So they are responsible for accepting or turning away anybody. They make sure that they have their needs met. They meet with them one-on-one and connect them with resources. So what the volunteers do at that time is talking to the men, getting them what they need. So if they need a toothbrush and toothpaste, handing that out to them, making sure that coffee is made, that kind of stuff. So the volunteers are almost a hospitality team, making sure that people have their needs met, that there's a friendly face to greet them. A lot of these folks don't have anybody who is being friendly with them at all during the day. It can be kind of tough. So you are maybe that first friendly face that they're getting for the day. And then they have a team that comes in and makes dinner, and the food is actually always really good. So you get to sit down and eat with the men, talk to them, get to know them. And then throughout the evening, there is kind of just a social time. It is lights out at 10 o'clock. There's always 2 volunteers on. So when lights out happens, the staff members on the men's side go home, but there is a staff on the women's side who can help if anybody ever has questions or needs. At 10 o'clock, one of the volunteers goes to sleep for 4 hours in a private room for volunteers. So this is the only volunteer opportunity you get to sleep during, which is awesome, right? So the first volunteer sleeps for 4 hours, the other one is awake in the room where the men are sleeping. And that might seem kind of like, what? We have to be in a room with a bunch of sleeping men. There's a desk with a light. A lot of times students do homework. There's a computer that you can use to get online. And mostly it is to make the men feel safe. Imagine sleeping on a floor with 44 other people and the next person is a stranger who's about a foot away from you. That is very nerve-wracking, and it is hard to sleep through the night that way. So when the volunteers are there, just kind of making sure everything is safe, it makes them feel better, makes them feel safe. So that is the role of the volunteer for that first shift. After the 4 hours, the volunteers switch places, and the one who'd been sleeping is now awake. And typically, there's wake-up calls that start at about 3 a.m., letting men know, time to get up. Why would they wake up so early, you ask? Well, many of these guys, they take 3 or 4 buses to their jobs. Some of them work 2 or 3 jobs. A lot of homeless people have jobs and work. It's that working on low incomes. In Minnesota, we have the highest rental rates. So a person working a minimum wage job would have to work 80 hours a week to pay for a 2-bedroom apartment. Whoa, right? How many of us can manage 80 hours a week? That's a lot of time. And a lot of jobs don't coordinate with one another, and you would probably never sleep, right? So that isn't realistic for most people. So a lot of these folks work very hard, but it's just not working to maintain housing. Some of the folks deal with mental illness. Some deal with chemical dependency. Many of these folks just hit a bad patch and they are just trying to get back on their feet. There are a lot of stereotypes about homelessness, and the feedback we get from students is that they've learned a lot about the stereotypes that they had about homelessness and how much that wasn't always true. Yes, some people do have chemical dependency. Yes, some people who are homeless are mentally ill, but not all of them, and that's often what it is that we see in here. So in terms of this opportunity, let's see, I was on the second shift. So then in the morning, it's just putting together a breakfast cart, some cereal and milk on the cart so the guys can get going in the morning. They take sandwiches out for the guys, and they take 2 or 3 sandwiches for lunch for the day so they have something to eat during the day. And by 7 in the morning, the guys are out the door. So it moves pretty well. It takes a minute to get used to sleeping in the shelter, and those who are really empathetic, emotionally, it can be challenging at first. I have to say, the day after my first shift, I cried for about 2 hours, but then, I wanted to go back. These men have so much positivity and hope in the world, more so than any people who have consistent housing that I've ever met. So these guys are really amazing. Any questions about Simpson Housing? Yes? How do you report your hours? Well, I'll get to that at the end. I appreciate that question. So hold on to it, and I'll answer it for all of the agencies. Okay? Okay. Oh, yes.
You have to be 18, it says?
Yes, you have to be over 18. And then a couple other pieces that are important to know. There is a background check interview process, and they do ask people to commit to at least 4 shifts. So each shift is about 13 hours because you're there so long, right? But they do ask for you to complete a total of 4 shifts, which comes up to about 55 hours. That's more than you need for the class, but in terms of the training and everything that they do to make sure volunteers are prepared to do their jobs well, they need that 4-night commitment. And you don't have to sign up for any specific nights. They have an online calendar, and you just pick the nights that work best for you. I will warn you, if you're interested in this, you should apply immediately, because typically by the end of the day on Friday of the second week, they are full, okay? So they'll do interviews on the 31st via phone, so they'll set up a phone interview with you. And my recommendation is make sure you're ready to tell them why you're interested, because they always get more applicants than they have spots for. So sell yourself. Any other questions?
What if you already volunteer there?
Oh, if you already volunteer there, you can just continue to do so. You don't have to do another application or orientation. Just start signing up for shifts. So this guy's lucky, y'all. He's just going to jump on that schedule and get his hours in. It's great. He might be the person to teach you how to volunteer. So the first shift you do with 2 experienced volunteers, so you know what you're doing. Do you want to say anything about it?
It's great, and it'll change your perspective on homeless people.
Yeah. He said it will change your perspective on homeless people, so awesome. Backs up what I was saying. Okay, thank you. That's nice when there's students in the room who volunteered. Okay, so the next opportunity, which kind of spans a page and a half, so they have a lot available to you all, is People Serving People. This is an organization that serves homeless families in downtown Minneapolis. So their goal is to make sure families can get back on their feet. They are one of the largest homeless shelters in Minnesota. They house a lot of families. And you know, we talked about the men sleeping on the floor on mats. Families can't exactly do that, right? It wouldn't feel safe for kids to be sleeping on a floor next to a stranger. So People Serving People provides them with small apartments for them to stay in while they're at People Serving People. They provide them with a lot of services, just like Simpson does, in terms of getting back on their feet, job access, workforce training. Families who are experiencing homelessness have other things they're dealing with too, like keeping their kids in school. A lot of times the cycle of homelessness impacts children because they move around a lot, and so the kids switch schools a lot, and they miss school a lot, which means they have less access to an education, which means they have less access to job opportunities as an adult, and it becomes a cycle of homelessness. Okay, so People Serving People is working really hard to stop the cycle here so these kids have opportunities. So a lot of their services include education for children. So they do early childhood education, they have a daycare center, they have after-school programs for kids. They want kids to be engaged on every level as possible so they don't have to be victims of this cycle anymore. It's not their fault that they're homeless, and they're the biggest victims of homelessness in this situation. So what volunteers can do, and you'll see that it is a huge list. So you'll look at the long-term opportunities since you're looking at doing the 20 to 25 hours. You'll see that there's a lot of chances to work with kids. They have early childhood development programs, which would work really well for your class. And that is Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. for either 2 to 4 hour shifts. And that's working with infant, toddler, and preschool classrooms. So those of you interested in that child development, this is a really good opportunity for you. They do need you to commit for the full semester, and this is, again, an 18 and over opportunity. There's also the evening children's opportunity. So if you're interested in tutoring kids who are experiencing homelessness, this is kind of a good one for those of you who are available in the evening. So that's 5:30 to 8. And then you'll see that they have a lot of childcare, reading with kids. They have a roving readers program where someone just walks around with books, and kids who are just kind of waiting for their parents who are in services, you just sit down and read with them. So those of you who love spreading the joy of reading, that is a great opportunity, right? So you can look through these. There also are adult opportunities, helping adults who are trying to connect with job resources. They have a computer technology center where people are learning to use computers, learning how to look for jobs, learning how to make a resume and that kind of stuff. So they can use help in that realm as well. One recommendation I have is they do have things like sorting donations. That really wouldn't work for you because you need to be interacting with people as part of this opportunity. Developmental psychology means actually connecting with people so you can think about what it is that they're learning at this point in their life, right? Okay. Any questions on people serving people? Yes.
So the times listed like 8:30 through 4:30, you can just work for like 2 hours between that like, range of time,
Right. Yep. So if they're open 8:30 to 2:30 or whatever, yep, just a 2-hour or 4-hour chunk between those times. Yes. She was like, I can't do the whole day. Yes.
Where it's located?
It is located in downtown Minneapolis off the 3rd Street exit. So if you were on Highway 94 headed towards St. Paul from here, you would just take the 3rd Street exit, and it's one of the first agencies off of that highway exit. So it's really easy to get to, and they have parking for volunteers. A lot of people here are downtown and think, I'll never find parking. So, and there is a bus route close to there as well. Any other questions?
And also like 2 hours per week, not that you have to go from Monday to Friday.
Right, 2 hours, 20 to 25 hours. If you get everything done in the timeline, it's 2 to 2.5 hours a week that you need to do to get that accomplished. So, yep, you don't have to go every day. No, good question though. Any other questions? Okay. So the next one on page 4 is Dakota Woodlands. And this is a shelter in Eagan. So those of you who are like, oh, there's a lot of Minneapolis opportunities, I need some suburbs. This is a homeless shelter serving women and children in Eagan. So if you're looking for an opportunity more in that area, this is a great one. They provide shelter for 22 families. So similar to people serving people in the type of services they offer. Again, they try to be holistic about it, right? So they're helping them get jobs, helping them maintain it. They have programs to help them maintain their housing after they're in it. And they provide a lot of services then, again, to the kids because their parents need to be working really hard to connect with services. So the opportunities that they have are working with the kids' programs. And then also, they have the opportunity to cook alongside the folks who are living there, so helping prepare meals for the families who are staying there. And the women who are staying there also prepare meals, so it's kind of a great opportunity to interact with the folks who are there. Men, this is a great opportunity for you too. Just because it's a women's shelter doesn't mean that they don't like men who are interested in volunteering. They very much welcome you. Okay, so Patty is awesome. She did fill up last semester, so please be aware that they fill up pretty quickly, and you should contact her right away if you're interested in volunteering there. Questions? Okay, so our last opportunity in here is the Minnesota Internship High School. And this is an alternative high school, and the way they described it to me was an alternative to the alternative high school. So this is kind of the last stop for kids who are trying to get their high school diploma, but alternative and traditional schools didn't work out for them for a variety of reasons. Some of the students at the school have been bullied to such a level that they cannot handle being in a mainstream school anymore. Some of the students have been in gangs, have dealt with drug and alcohol addiction and dependency. Some of them have had children at young ages. So they have a lot of things in their lives that they're trying to balance or recover from at a very young age. So this is a great one for developmental psych. What happens in a person's development in those ages when they've had things in their life that have interrupted things that are very adult things to deal with? How does that interrupt development, and how are they trying to recover from that? So the Minnesota Internship High School does a lot for these students in addition to helping them get their diploma. So they provide kind of the normal school day thing. They study normal, stuff like social studies, math, reading, that kind of stuff. And they have volunteers who help out in the classroom. So that's what they're asking for help with from you all, is to just be in the classroom with these young people to help them study. And a big piece is that whole, a lot of these kids sit in there and their wheels are spinning and they don't know how to get started on their homework. They don't know how to get started studying. And so you all would kind of help them work through that process. Okay, what do you need to do first? What is our goal here? And help them work through it. As college students, you have to do that on your own all the time, right? So you're specialists in this at this point. And that is during the school day. They also have very directed health programming. They work on resilience programming and healthy living to help these young people make good decisions. So how do they eat well, even if their incomes are low? How do they avoid pregnancy? How do they parent well? How do they make sure they're making healthy decisions in their life? So they really have targeted these students with their health programming to make sure that they have their needs met. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, this public health idea, they do have opportunities for you in that area. So you could either tutor in the classroom or help with those more healthy living opportunities. Yes?
Do you have to, every time you volunteer at the same place, or could you volunteer at different places?
All of these places need the minimum commitment of 20 hours, so you would have to do all of your time at one agency unless you were able to commit 40 hours, 20 at one and 20 at another. But all of these need that full semester commitment. Yeah, good question though, because a lot of these agencies are so interesting. But you could always volunteer at another one at another time. Yep, you don't have to volunteer at these through this opportunity. Yep.
Where are the different charter schools in this?
One is at Sabathani Community Center, which is in South Minneapolis, which is just off of Highway 35 in the 35th exit. So if you were headed north, it's pretty far south. So it's at 38th and 3rd. So it's pretty easy to get to. They have another one in, I feel like they have one in North Minneapolis as well. They have, I think, just 2 locations right now. I think the other one is in North Minneapolis. So, any other questions?
What are the hours for this?
It's during the school day, so between 8 or 9 in the morning until 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Some of their programs go a little later if students are participating in some of the health programming. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yes.
Is there, with the ones that need training beforehand, is the training provided?
Training is always provided. Yes, that's a great question. All of these agencies will train you to make sure you have the skills you need to do the job. And if you're ever like, I don't think I'm quite there yet, they can provide you with extra. And all of your training counts towards your hours because we want to make sure that you get trained well. So yes, that's a very good question. Training is provided.
That
Yes.
was my question, towards the volunteer hours.
Yes. Yep. Training definitely towards volunteer hours. So, and then your question over there is how do you get hours reported? So I'll walk you through this registration process, and that is how you'll get your hours reported, as these agencies will have to contact us with your hours.